Something explosive is happening in Indianapolis right now, and if you're a Caitlin Clark fan, you need to hear this before it's too late, because what I'm about to reveal could change everything about the Indiana Fever's championship hopes. And trust me, after what just leaked from Caitlin's latest interview, Stephanie White might want to start updating her resume. But before we dive into this bombshell, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, because what's coming next is going to shake the entire WNBA to its core. The tension has been building for months, but nobody wanted to say it out loud. Caitlin Clark, the most electrifying player in women's basketball, is absolutely miserable in Stephanie White's offensive system. And now, she's finally breaking her silence in a way that should have every Fever fan worried about their superstar's future in Indianapolis. Let me paint you a picture of what's really going down behind closed doors. While Stephanie White keeps preaching her everybody eats philosophy and talking about ball movement, Caitlin Clark is sitting there watching her generational talent get completely wasted. This isn't just speculation anymore. Clark just went on record talking about her former Iowa coach Lisa Bluder and the way she described that offense versus what she's dealing with now. It's basically a declaration of war without actually firing the first shot. Here's what Clark said that has everyone's jaw on the floor. She talked about how at Iowa they always had 5 shooters on the floor with perfect spacing. Everyone knew exactly where to be at all time. Then she drops this absolute nuke. Even now at the professional level, I'm like, how do people not know where to move? It blows my mind still. Think about that for a second. She's basically saying professional players and coaches don't know basic basketball positioning. Who do you think she's talking about? I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with Stephanie White, but wait, it gets even spicier. Clark went on to say that Lisa Bluder basically brainwashed players into knowing exactly where to be on every single possession. She said, if someone drives here, you go there, no questions asked. Meanwhile, in Indianapolis, they're running around like chickens with their heads cut off, leading to turnover after turnover after turnover. And Clark's frustration is starting to boil over in ways that should terrify Fever management. The numbers don't lie, and they're absolutely damning for Stephanie White. When Clark has the ball in her hands in transition, which is where she's literally unstoppable, the Fever score at an elite rate. But White keeps trying to force her into this motion offense, where she's standing in the corner watching Kelsey Mitchell dribble the air out of the ball. It's like buying a Ferrari and then using it to deliver pizzas. You're completely wasting what makes it special. And here's where things get really interesting. Remember that brutal loss to the Golden State Valkyries where the Fever only scored 61 points? Clark came back from injury, and instead of letting her cook, White had Ari McDonald running point while Clark stood around watching. The result? Clark shoots 4 for 12. The offense looks absolutely pathetic, and fans are calling for White's head on social media. One fan tweeted, "I don't think Stephanie White is a bad coach. I just don't think she has any clue how to use Caitlin Clark properly." And honestly, after watching this disaster unfold, they might be onto something. The philosophical divide between these two is becoming impossible to ignore. White keeps comparing Clark to Tyrese Halliburton and talking about how the Pacers play better when when their star isn't dominating the ball. But here's the thing, coach. Caitlin Clark isn't Tyrese Halliburton. She's more like LeBron James or Luka Doncic, a heliocentric force who makes everyone better by having the ball in her hands. You don't take the ball out of Magic Johnson's hands and expect the offense to improve. That's literally insane. What makes this even more concerning is what other coaches are saying. Becky Hammon straight up admitted that when Clark isn't on the floor, the Fever actually have better ball movement and player aggression. Think about what that means. The system is literally designed to minimize their best player's impact. It's like they're actively trying to make Clark less effective, and she's starting to notice. But here's the part that nobody's talking about yet. Clark has been dealing with injury after injury this season. She's missed 16 games and only played 13. Coincidence? Or is it because she's being forced to play in a system that doesn't fit her natural game? Running around off ball, setting screens, cutting constantly. That's not what her body is built for. She's a creator, not a cutter, and the physical toll of playing out of position might be destroying her body. The timing of all this couldn't be worse. The Fever just had one of the best off seasons in franchise history. They brought in DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, and a bunch of other pieces specifically to complement Clark. But if the coach coach and the star player aren't on the same page about how to use all this talent, it doesn't matter how good your roster is. You're still going to underachieve. And let's talk about what Clark really wants versus what she's getting. She's been crystal clear from day one. She told reporters back in May, "I think we need to do a better job of getting me the ball in transition. Whether somebody is there or not, that's when I'm the best, in transition. Everybody knows that." But what does White do? She talks about baseline to baseline ball movement and keeping everyone involved. It's like they're speaking two completely different languages. The frustration is starting to show up in Clark's body language too. Watch the games closely. When the offense stalls out because nobody knows where to go, you can see Clark throwing her hands up in frustration. When she makes a perfect pass and her teammate isn't in the right spot, she just shakes her head. This isn't the confident, explosive player we saw dominating at Iowa. This is someone who's being suffocated by a system that doesn't understand her greatness. What's even more wild is that White seems to know there's a problem but refuses to fix it. After that embarrassing Valkyrie's loss, she said her biggest concern was maintaining ball movement when Clark returns. Not maximizing Clark's impact, not putting her in position to succeed, but making sure the ball keeps moving. It's like she cares more about her system than her superstar. And in the WNBA, that's a recipe for disaster. The fans are starting to revolt too. Social media is absolutely destroying Stephanie White after every loss. They're posting clips of Iowa's offense versus the Fever's offense, and the difference is shocking. At Iowa, Clark was orchestrating a symphony. In Indianapolis, she's playing in a garage band where nobody knows the same song. One fan posted, "Give Caitlin the ball, run ball screens. Either she gets a good look or someone will be wide open because of the double team." But no, Stephanie White wants to run the everybody eats buffet offense and complicate everything. Here's what I think is really happening behind the scenes. Clark is too professional to publicly demand a coaching change, but she's sending signals loud and clear. When you go on a podcast and basically say your college coach was better than your pro coach without actually saying it, that's a message. When you talk about how professional players don't know where to be on the court, that's a shot across the bow. She's building her case publicly without burning bridges. And the craziest part, the Fever are actually playing pretty well without Clark right now. They're on a 5-game winning streak with her injured. You know what that tells me? The other players fit White's system better than Clark does, which raises a terrifying question for Fever fans. If the team plays better without your superstar and your superstar is miserable in your system, what happens next? I'll tell you what should happen. The Fever need to make a choice, and they need to make it fast. Either you fire Stephanie White and bring in a coach who understands how to maximize Caitlin Clark's otherworldly talent, or you risk losing the most marketable player in women's basketball history. Because make no mistake, if this tension continues, Clark is going to start looking at other options, and there are plenty of teams who would build their entire franchise around her the way she deserves. The fact that Lisa Bluder didn't take the Indiana job is looking like one of the biggest what-ifs in WNBA history. Can you imagine Clark running the same system that made her a legend at Iowa, but with WNBA talent around her? We're talking about potentially the greatest offense in league history. Instead, we're watching her stand in the corner while Stephanie White tries to prove that her motion offense can work. But here's the thing that really gets me. White keeps talking about how Clark needs to trust her teammates and get them involved first. Lady, she averaged more assists than almost anyone in college basketball history. She knows how to get teammates involved. The problem is when you force her to be a system player instead of letting her be the system, you're literally taking away what makes her special and turning her into just another player. The comparisons to how other superstars have been misused are starting to pile up too. Remember when Mike D'Antoni tried to make Carmelo Anthony a spot-up shooter? Remember when the Lakers tried to make LeBron play off-ball in 2019? It never works. Generational talents need to be given the freedom to be generational. You don't put a tiger in a cage and expect it to be happy. And what about the injuries? Clark has been in and out of the lineup all season with various ailments. Is it really just bad luck, or is her body breaking down because she's being forced to play in a way that's unnatural for her? All that cutting and moving without the ball, that's not what she did at Iowa. She was the maestro, orchestrating everything with the ball in her hands. Now she's being asked to be a role player in her own story. The leaked conversation about her missing Lisa Bluder is just the tip of the iceberg. Sources close to the team say Clark has been increasingly vocal in practice about the offensive sets not making sense. She's supposedly been drawing up plays herself and showing them to assistant coaches. When your 22-year-old rookie, well, second-year player now, is designing better offense than your head coach, you've got a serious problem. What makes this even more frustrating is that everyone can see the solution except Stephanie White. Give Clark the ball, spread the floor with shooters, let her read and react. It's not complicated. It's literally what made her the biggest star in college basketball. But White is so married to her motion offense philosophy that she'd rather lose with her system than win with Clark's brilliance. The upcoming games are going to be absolutely crucial. If the Fever continue to struggle offensively with Clark back in the lineup, the pressure on White is going to become unbearable. The front office invested everything in building around Clark. They brought in veterans, they got shooters, they improved the defense. But if the coach can't figure out how to use the centerpiece of the franchise, none of it matters. And let's be real about what's at stake here. This isn't just about wins and losses. This is about the future of the Indiana Fever and potentially the entire WNBA. Caitlin Clark brings more eyes to the game than anyone since Diana Taurasi in her prime. Maybe even more. You cannot afford to waste her prime years with a coach who doesn't understand her value. The league literally cannot afford it. The whispers around the league are getting louder too. Other coaches are supposedly already game planning for how they'd use Clark if she ever became available. Can you imagine her in Las Vegas with Becky Hammon or in New York with Sandy Brondello? These coaches would build their entire system around maximizing Clark's talents, not trying to fit her into some predetermined box. What's going to be really interesting is seeing how Clark handles the media going forward. She's been diplomatic so far, but the frustration is starting to leak through. When she talks about Iowa, her eyes light up. When she talks about the Fever's offense, she looks like she's discussing tax forms. That's not normal for someone who lives and breathes basketball. The solution is so obvious, it's painful. Fire Stephanie White, bring in a coach who understands modern offensive basketball, and let Caitlin Clark be Caitlin Clark. Stop trying to make her Tyrese Halliburton or Steph Curry or whoever else. She's her own player with her own unique skill set. Embrace it, build around it, and watch the wins pile up. But here's my prediction, and Fever fans, you're not going to like this. If things don't change by the All-Star break, we're going to start hearing rumors about Clark wanting out. Maybe not publicly, but her agent is going to start making calls, testing the waters, seeing what other opportunities might be out there. Because superstars don't stay in bad situations forever. Eventually, they find a way out. The ball is in Kelly Krauskopf's court now. The Fever president has to decide what's more important, backing her coach or backing her superstar. And if she chooses wrong, it could set the franchise back a decade. You don't get many chances at generational talents. When you have one, you do everything in your power to keep them happy, even if that means admitting you made a mistake with your coaching hire. The next few weeks are going to tell us everything we need to know about the future of this franchise. Will Stephanie White adapt her system to maximize Caitlin Clark? Will the front office step in and make a change? Or will we watch this slow motion train wreck continue until something finally breaks? Either way, the drama in Indianapolis is just getting started, and I'll be here to break it all down for you. Before I go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the way this situation is developing, you're not going to want to miss a single update. And trust me, with the way Clark is starting to speak out, the next bombshell could drop at any moment. This is the biggest story in the WNBA right now, and it's only gonna get bigger. Don't say I didn't warn you when everything explodes. Peace out, and remember, the truth always comes out eventually.